Hello everybody and welcome to DePodcastry. I know it's been a little while since I made one of these, and that was because I wanted to decide exactly what I wanted to do for these podcasts. I think I'm going to use them as a way to talk about gaming topics as a whole that don't pertain to a singular game, that I have something important, relevant to say on, and I'm also going to use them as a way to connect with my YouTube community. Because on Twitch, I get to talk to my Twitch chat regularly, but I don't get to reply to your guys' comments as often as I used to, so I really want to have a way to connect with you guys, and I think these podcasts are the perfect place for it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through my backlog of videos. I'm going to take the top 10 highest viewed videos on my channel, and I'm going to respond to 3 comments from each of them, so we are going to do a 30-question podcast, and fancy that, all the videos happen to be Souls videos, so I'm going to be doing a Souls question podcast. So if you've never got to get your questions answered by me before, now is the time. I'm going to be using a randomizer to just pick random comments from each video. So let's kick things off with ranking the difficulty of the Dark Souls 3 bosses by you, the community. This was before the DLC. This is my most viewed video with over 3 million views, which is absolutely insane. I still remember the day this video blew up, and I will never forget that, so thank you to each and every one of you that watched and supported that video. The first comment comes from Historic Panda. How you gonna put Pontiff over Soul of Cinder? Well, I didn't. The community put it. That was the fun thing about these videos, is that they weren't ranked by me, they were ranked by the community, and I know a lot of these comments may not actually be referring to me. Maybe they did listen in the beginning and did hear that these were ranked by the community, but they still just don't agree with the community. It's like, community, how you gonna do that? How you gonna put Pontiff over Soul of Cinder? The fun thing about this exercise was to see, as much as possible, what the average player in Dark Souls 3 struggle with in terms of bosses. And that way you could see where you as an individual deviate from the average, because you're always going to deviate somewhat from the average. Like, I don't find a lot of the bosses hard in this game because I've speedrun it to hell. So I'm not very much the average player in this game because I played it way too much. And you may be someone who played the game only once and struggle with all of the bosses. It's fun for me to see where I struggle with things that people didn't struggle with, and that they struggle with things I didn't struggle with. That was the fun of the exercise, and that was why it was also fun to go back and give you my own impression of the Dark Souls 3 bosses after the DLC. That way you can know what I found hard. I know a lot of people were very, very annoyed that I put Dancer at 3, but she's hard, all right? None of the bosses in Dark Souls 3 are that hard for me because I've fought them so many times, but you know what? She can one-shot me sometimes, and that gives her a spot up there, okay? All right? Our next comment is from Mark Basile. Nameless King is truly a monster. However, I am really disappointed in the boss weapons. Neither the spear nor the sword are really worth it, especially when you compare it to something like the Curved Dragon Greatsword from DS2, which has S scaling and dexterity. Well, we all know dexterity is the king stat, so thank God he's referencing that. But, really, I am a min-maxer in these games. I always use the best weapons, so I think the whole point is there's always going to be a best weapon or a group of weapons that are the top tier meta weapons. But it is what it is. You can do other runs of the game if you so choose and really like being someone who goes back and plays the games multiple times with whatever weapon you want to, and just find a way to make it work for you. I think that's what the purpose of all the different weapons are. However, that's why I like Bloodborne's weapons over Dark Souls weapons, because Dark Souls has so many effing weapons. I know that the boss weapons are supposed to be unique, but still, a lot of them end up being based on designs of other weapons or slight variations of other weapons, where I feel like the transformation weapons are all, for the most part, very unique. This is why I'm a basic bitch. I use the same shit every time. I'm going to use my rapier, I'm going to use my twin blades, I'm going to use my Quelaag's Fury Sword. Call me basic bitch, but that's what I'm going to be using. The next comment is from the Masa Blast. To be honest, 3 was the easiest out of the whole series when it comes to bosses. If I ever died on a boss, I'd die like once or twice only, except for that dickhead Nameless. I died like a quadrillion times. Ah! Yes. A lot of us died to Nameless many, many times. Unfortunately for me, there were bosses that I died to a hell of a lot more. But I know people struggle with Nameless quite a bit. I do think that the Dark Souls 3 bosses on the whole are some of the easier in the series. However, I do think there's some of the better in the series. Potentially the best, rivaling up there with the excellent bosses of Bloodborne. But yeah, I mean, if you go back and watch this video, the ranking, the difficulty back from right around when Dark Souls 3 released, I remember I died to some of the bosses an absurd amount of times. I think I died to Champion Gundyr like 15 times or something like that. And I remember why specifically too. I was in such a hurry to play this game so that I could get this video out, and I played the game for like 15 hours straight when I had gotten to Gundyr and when I had gotten to Princes, and I was just so burnt out. I even remember my girlfriend at the time telling me, like, you need to stop playing. You've been playing this game for so long. You're getting really frustrated, and it's not because you're bad. It's not because there's anything wrong with the game. It's because you've been playing for way too long and you're fatigued. Go eat a fucking sandwich or something. So that's my advice to you. If you keep dying to a boss, go eat a fucking sandwich and then come back later and maybe you'll do better. Moving on to the next video, the top 10 hardest bosses in the Souls series. This is a comment that I am sure I got about a bajillion times. Rova, no Fume Knight. I think he's statistically the most aggressive, difficult boss in Dark Souls 2. The reason I didn't put Fume Knight on my list, even though I do find Fume Knight to be a very hard boss, is because though I died in my first playthrough of Dark Souls 2 to Fume Knight, I think it was like 11 or 12 times, I would have killed Fume Knight on my first ever attempt if I had known about the healing mechanic, where if you didn't use those dagger shard things or whatever to stop the side of the arena from healing the Fume Knight, I would have killed him, because I did about 120% of his health, but he ended up getting healed, and that barely made him hang on. And in subsequent playthroughs, I just never had much of a problem with him. Until my Soul Level 1 run, that is. My Soul Level 1 run, he is easily the boss I died to across the entire Dark Souls series the most in a Soul Level 1 run. So Nameless King certainly is hard, and I know that a lot of people struggle with him, but as always, this was not a community's top 10 hardest bosses in the Souls series list. This was my top 10 hardest bosses in the Souls series. So our next comment is from Weed Boy. Only Souls I've beaten are Demon Souls and Bloodborne. Currently playing Dark Souls 3, stuck on the Dancer from some valley, I don't know, but the amount of times I've actually tried is fucking unbearable. I don't know why I find him so hard, I just understand his attacks. Yes, the Dancer of the Boreal Valley is very, very hard, and everyone who says he's not hard is wrong. Yes, I said he is the hardest boss, well, third hardest boss in all of Dark Souls 3. Don't get it twisted. You probably hadn't played the Ring City at this point. Who knows if you ever went on to play. I'm joking. This is yet another thing to reinforce, and this is what a lot of these comments boil down to. Again, everybody struggles with different things on these bosses. So top 10 hardest bosses in the Souls series list, from my perspective, is just something for you to reflect on and see what you found the hardest, which is what Weed Boy is doing here. And to be fair, the people who are talking about Fume Knight are doing too. I don't mean to be savage. I just mean to reiterate the idea that we can have a discussion, guys, not just, where is the Fume Knight? And our last comment for the top 10 hardest bosses in the Souls series, which is something I got very frequently on that video, and this, you all know this is my favorite type of comment. Dennis Ryback Posselman. Bloodborne isn't a Dark Souls game. Well, Dennis Ryback Posselman, Bloodborne is my favorite Dark Souls game of all time, and as we all know, Demon Dark Blood 3 is the greatest franchise in existence, and you're just going to have to accept that Soulsborne, I want to get really close to the mic and say it, Soulsborne is fantastic, and we all love Soulsborne. Soulsborne, Demon Dark Blood 3, Soulsborne. I don't understand. I don't get, like, I get the outrage culture on the internet that we get upset about really stupid things because we just have no filter. On the internet, we can write whatever the hell we want, and there's no consequences. So you can get, as we love to say in 2017, triggered. We can get triggered over anything. I don't understand why the fuck semantics and a word and a combination of two words bothers you. The amount of times I get that comment, I made a meme out of it a long time ago because I just find it so stupid. Are there not more important things to worry about in your life than people combining two words and considering a game that is a clear spiritual successor to a series, or at the very least uses a lot of its assets and mechanics to be a part of that series? Baffles me, blows my mind, mind-blowing. On to the next video, which is ranking the difficulty of the Dark Souls bosses. So we're talking about Dark Souls 1 here. This is the community's ranking. Juicy Jesse says, fuck you, sorry. Ornstein and Smo will always be the hardest. Well, at least you said sorry. You said fuck me, but you said sorry afterwards, so thank you for the apology. I understand where you're coming from. Ornstein and Smo are a very, very hard boss in the series, without a doubt. I believe, I gotta be honest, I don't remember. It's been so long since this video. I'm fairly certain that Manus was ranked the hardest boss by the community, which I can understand. I did a soul level 1 run of the game, and Manus really took me a long time to get down. But Ornstein and Smo are more of a practice in running away until you can get the right attack and hoping that you're going to get the right RNG where they don't keep attacking you at the same time or use the pillars to split them up. There's a lot of different ways to handle that fight. But hell yeah, it's a big difficulty spike, no doubt about it. So it's not as if they weren't represented well in this list. So it's okay. Juicy Jesse, I know, we all struggled. Wow! Our 8th comment is from Hey You Guys. You seem like a really nice guy. That's very nice of you to say. See, these are the kind of comments that keep me coming back to YouTube. I only want to be told nice things. Why can't I just be told nice things all the time? I'm kidding. I don't want to belittle a nice comment. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I try to come off as the nicest possible person I can. You know, that sounds funny. I say come off like a nice person, like I'm actually an asshole underneath, but I do my best to pretend like I'm a nice person. No, I try to be as genuine as I can on YouTube. And I tried to have as much fun as I could with the difficulty rankings. And despite all of the, vitriolic comments that I would get, there was always comments that were very supportive of the series, were very polite to me. Some people would tell me they like my sultry voice. They were all appreciated. Love, hate, we all appreciate it on this channel. So thank you very much. Hey, you guys. You seem like a nice guy too. And the last comment from this is from Suicidal Theron. Moonlight Butterfly eats moss on the side to regenerate its spells and shit. I actually didn't know this at the time. I didn't know why it came down other than giving the player an opportunity to hit it from a melee perspective, which I have to think that the fact it has to come down and do that is for that reason, because they wouldn't put a boss in the game that you could only beat with ranged attacks, because that'd be pretty fucked up unless they left like a bow or some kind of spell in the arena with a wand that would help you. So I'm pretty sure that's the reason, but yes, they gave it a thematic purpose, but I don't really care. Nothing has to be answered by lore. I just want to fuck that moonlight butter because it doesn't fly, you idiot. Good old memes. On to the next video, which is the top 10 best bosses in the Soul series. I was very happy that after I did the rankings of the community, that the community was very excited to see how I ranked everything in terms of quality, so I'm happy to see that this is one of the 4 videos I've had that has broken 1 million views. And the first comment is from Jupiter Edo. Artorias is so easy to dodge and can easily be killed with magic. I don't think he deserves a 10 out of 10 in difficulty, but the lore is cool. Artorias is the boss that I struggle with personally. And again, this is my ranking. Here we go back again to opinions. He is pretty easy to dodge most of the time, but the problem is if he manages to land a hit on you, he can often combo it into other things that even with the massive amounts of bitch vigor that I always take, he can still kill you. And I never use magic builds because I hate magic builds in Dark Souls, so I always use a melee build, and that's the end of that. It's just something I struggle with. I will say the kind of arbitrary scoring I used for all the bosses was something that people really struggled with over the course of this series, and it's understandable why, because I didn't always explain my reasoning fully. I tried my best to, but at the end of the day, it's arbitrary scoring. This is why I've moved away from number scoring anything, because it doesn't really mean anything without the words behind it. So I'd rather just explain myself as fully as I can and use things in like I do in the top 10, or sorry, not top 10, the 10 things I love and hate series, where I say loved it, liked it, indifferent, disliked it, hated it. It's more of a generic thing that gives you a general sense of how I felt overall after I give my full opinion, rather than just giving number scores, because people, when they see numbers, they just tend to focus on them a little bit too much. The next comment is from Mr. Swag. The best in the Soul series is Soul If Cinder. Fuck you! Well, you can't even get your favorite boss's name right. Fuck you! And our last comment is another opinion problem. Nicholas Cole saying Tower Knight over False King. Da fuck? Well, the False King fight, honestly, while it is a prototype for a lot of the humanoid fights that came later in the series, I do think it's very good. There's just something about the Tower Knight and the moment of making it to him, because the first boss is Phalanx and it's very bleh, and you don't have to go to 1-2, but most people do. And when you see that spectacle, that big guy dropping that shield, you hear the ha 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 ha, perfect impression, music, And then you have to run around and kill the archers. You have to find a way to take him down. And then when you finally do take him down and realize, like, oh, I had to be a little ankle biter, and then you just annihilate his head, just smash. It's great. It was a fun experience for me. I'm glad you like the False Gang. I do too. We agree, Nicholas, just not quite the same. We're different people. Our next video is ranking the difficulty of the Dark Souls 2 bosses. This is the first half of the Dark Souls 2 boss rankings. And the first comment is, the Pursuer should be higher. Think I died about 15 times trying to kill him. Then he shows up like a million fucking times. Yes, Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the Pursuer edition. We all know about that. I think the reason you find the Pursuer so low is because even though he can be a very challenging boss for early game players, a lot of people had already played the original Dark Souls at this point. If you were at all adept at parrying, he's trivialized. If you could actually manage to parry and use one of the Arbalists, then he completely gets destroyed. And the only players that really will struggle with the Pursuer are just people who haven't played the series before. He's such a basic boss that teaches you the series, and I think that's what he is intended for. So I think that's why you find him lower on the list. But of course, you are entitled to your opinion. Even if you played Dark Souls before and you still struggle with the Pursuer, by all means, put him anywhere you want to on your own list. This is for you to compare against what happened to you. Nestor says, game is lame, video owns. Keep up the good work, dude. Thank you. I did my best to keep up the good work, and I feel that I've done the absolute best that I could over the course of the last 2 years since this video was posted. I hope you enjoyed my continued Dark Souls content, and I hope you continue all the new content that I make today. I will say that Dark Souls 2 isn't as lame as everybody makes it out to be. I feel like it actually is a good, solid game. No, it's not as good as the heights that the rest of the series reaches, but it's still a quality game. But thank you very much for the kind words, Nestor. 2Z Nick, I just hug Vendrick's left leg all day and poke his ankles like all giants. Trust me, makes the fight much easier. I think you actually have something here. I did a speedrun of the game at one point. I tested it out and I just didn't really enjoy doing the speedrun. But when you do fight Vendrick in that manner, I think there's only one attack he can actually do that will be able to hit you, and it's very well telegraphed. If this is the 20 to 41 section, and this is where Vendrick showed up in the list, I think it shows you that Vendrick isn't all that hard. To be honest, most of the Dark Souls 2 bosses aren't that hard until you really reach like the top upper echelon of bosses, but thank you for the very good tip, 2Z Nick. Hopefully that helps anyone who's listening to this podcast and is still out there struggling with Vendrick. Halfway through, and we are on to the top 10 easiest bosses in the Souls series. Our first comment is from Westy. Here's an Ide for Pinwheel. Have him appear exactly the same as he originally does. Then when you empty his health bar, a massive shockwave knocks your character over and a cutscene begins. As the smoke clears, we see the legend himself and he asks, "What are you, Kazul?" That would have been fucking amazing. I don't know what would have. Who is the legend himself? I'm wondering who's the legend himself. Is the legend himself Giant Dad? Is that who we're talking about here? If that actually happened, that would be amazing. I would love to see someone on PC actually make a mod that makes that happen, like a shockwave knocks you over and just Giant Dad appears and you have to fight Giant Dad. What if they had made it into a PvP fight? That's actually an excellent idea. What if after Pinwheel was killed, a shockwave happened and then it was a PvP fight? Because these masks actually became something that you used a lot in PvP because they offered such good benefits. That's a very good idea, Westy. I think FromSoft should give you a look for their next game. Our next comment is from Alex. Crystal Sage doesn't even get harder in the second phase if you know that the real Sage has the purple magic while the fake ones have the blue magic. This is true, but the thing that can really fuck you is that there's only a few pillars to hide behind, and if you choose wrong and you go for the wrong Sage, you can sometimes get caught up in a magic attack that can quickly annihilate you. A lot of people at that point in the game don't have a lot of HP, and those magic attacks just do an absolute buttload of damage. Now, of course, I put the Crystal Sage on my easiest bosses list, and I still stand by it. The Crystal Sage is an incredibly easy boss, especially if you use the newest speedrun trick, which you'll see if you watched my Dark Souls 3 boss rush, where you parry the Sage and just absolutely annihilate it. Though, to be fair, at that point you have a +7 weapon, which most people at that point in the game do not have a +7 weapon. Still, no, the Sage is not a very hard boss, but I can understand why people struggle with it without a doubt. And our last comment is from Brandon Miller. His character, oh my god! Well, I've heard a lot of requests before that people would like to see how I make my beautiful character. I mean, I can explain it pretty easily. You just turn your character blue, and then you fuck with the settings until your character has a very beautifully contorted face. But I've had demand before for uploading a beautiful tutorial to YouTube, so let me know in the comments below, and if you upvote that comment super highly, and I see it, then I will upload a beautiful tutorial for YouTube, since apparently people want it. I want to see what the actual demand is for that tutorial, because if it's there, I'll do it. Moving on to the other half of the Dark Souls 2 community boss rankings, to the top half, Gabe Wah says, if you don't want to deal with the little spiders, bring a torch for the Duke's dear Freya. I did not know about this until the commenters told me in this video, which was a very good tip. I don't really use it too much because I often use like a great club at this point, which is pretty good for clearing out the spiders. But for anyone out there who doesn't know about this, because I didn't, I feel like it was a little known tip, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is a well-known tip. It's a very, very useful one, so thank you for telling me this. I think I might have actually made use of it in my Soul Level 1 run to help with the spiders, because they were very threatening when you had low HP. So thank you to Gabe and everyone else who commented on that video to let me and the community know about this tip. Jeremy Cairo. This guy's arrogant, LMAO. He's over-leveled and sounds like he's bragging with every fight. I don't know where this comes in, this whole inadequacy complex. I don't sound like I'm bragging with the fights. If I tell you a fight is easy, it doesn't mean I'm bragging. I'm just giving you my opinion, bro. I'm just telling you that I think a fight was easy. If you didn't find it to be easy, and you feel inadequate when I call a fight easy, that you didn't find easy, LMAO. And the last comment is from Tommy Games 121. What are the weapons you use in the video? Good video, by the way. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for telling me the video is good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I did get a lot of questions about the weapons, and I believe I responded to some of the comments and tried to help people out. I use the rapier that you can buy from the blacksmith in the beginning, and I use the red iron twin blade, or as we like to call it, the red iron wind blade, which you get from the Shrine of Amana in the third section, right after the tunnel with all those little bug things. You can go to the back of the water in that big pool that you come out of after the cave, and the red iron twin blade is back there. They are both very, very solid weapons in this game. So if you want to make the game easier on yourself in any way, shape, or form, use them. Because as I will always say, if it's in the game, there's no reason not to use it. There's no shame in using weapons that are good or weapons that are meta. They're in the game for a reason. They're the tools you have available to you. If you want to ignore the tools you have available to you, that's your choice. But no one else should feel obligated to do the same, and you should not shame other people for using what they want to use. Our next video is ranking the difficulty of the Demon Souls bosses. This is the Demon Souls community ranking, a very underrated game that I know a lot of people haven't gotten the opportunity to play. So our first comment is, I first played Demon Souls offline with no help back in 2009-ish. Now I'm just a full PC gamer. Really wish they would do an HD remake of this. Would snap that shit up straight away. I said in my 10 Things Dark Souls 3 video that I didn't really want to see remakes of any of the games, just because I'd rather FromSoft focus on new things. But if I were to make any exceptions to that, I would say Demon Souls is the one I would like to see remake, whether it be on PC or whether it be exclusive to PS4, I don't really care. But I think more people should get the opportunity to play this game, because I think a lot of people that played Dark Souls didn't get that opportunity since it was exclusive to PS3, and I would like to see more people get a chance to play it, because it really is a quality game, and I think it could actually use the upping of mechanics. If they remade it, I hope they wouldn't just put it in HD. I hope they'd actually go through and faithfully recreate and add the new mechanics. Cameron Hashigan comments, hey, Storm Ruler is in Dank Souls 3 as well. I assume this comment came before or perhaps even after Dark Souls 3 came out, but I remember I got it spoiled for me that the Storm Ruler was in Dark Souls 3 because I posted these videos before Dark Souls 3 came out, and people had early access to the game, some YouTubers, some streamers, and people decided to spoil me. So thank you. Thank you, Cameron, for the spoilers, unless the game was already out, in which case, thank you for spoiling other people who hadn't played the game already. I'm mostly kidding, but it was something that kind of annoyed me a bit when I was posting these videos. Is like, shit, I know Dark Souls 3 is circulating around. I want to look at my comments because I want to talk to my community, but at the same time, I don't want to get spoiled for anything that's in Dark Souls 3. That's how I ended up finding out about the Storm Ruler. That's how I ended up finding out that the Nameless King was some super crazy hard boss before I'd even played the game. Cons of being a YouTuber, I suppose. You're subject to spoilers when you don't really want them. And our last comment is from Farnies Vandaminian. I'm sure I absolutely butchered that. You shouldn't have used the Meridian Hammer or any pull weapon, neither magic, if you want to get a taste of the real Demon Souls. Yet again, whatever restrictions you decide you want to impose on yourself is absolutely up to you, But the real Demon Souls is the game I insert in the disc into my PS3, and everything that's contained within it is part of the real Demon Souls, my friend. Alright, our second to last video is the first half of ranking the difficulty of Bloodborne's bosses with the community. Our first comment is from Xavier Stamps. For the amygdala, I whipped out my Evelyn and just kept shooting until it died. This is absolutely a viable strategy because Amygdala's head is very weak, and since you have a good ranged attack, if you use the Evelyn and are scaling in Blood Tinge, you can really just fire away with the Evelyn, keep using blood bullets, and if you use Bone Marrow Ash, it will make Amygdala absolutely get destroyed. But Amygdala's not even that hard of a boss anyway. You can handle him by any sort of means, but yes, this is one of the easier ones. And I think this is one of the things that people kind of chide Bloodborne for. Even though arrows exist in Dark Souls and there's ways to manipulate things using arrows, some bosses can just be trivialized if you're using a Blood Tinge build and have Bone Marrow Ash. But you have to keep in mind that if you're using Blood Tinge, you're giving up the other stats, which would primarily be skill, and skill is very useful in the game because that's what scales your riposte damage. You can get some absurd riposte damage with a skill build. The next comment comes from Mr. Cute African. Your commentary is very smooth and intriguing. Well, thank you, Mr. Cute African. I hope that I have managed to keep up the quality of my commentary. I should mention that if my voice sounds any bit different from the way it has in the last couple years or even just a month or two ago, it's because I moved to a new place and I have very vaulted ceilings in my bedroom where I have my desk, and it causes an echo in here. So I'm looking for ways to circumvent that. I'm honestly, like, my short-term solution that I'm thinking of doing, and I'm going to try very soon, is like putting a blanket over me and my desk while I record and hoping that that will like shelter the sound inside of the blanket. I'm looking for solutions. If you've got any in the comments, be sure to let me know. I want to say like 12-foot ceilings. The ceilings in this room are so freaking huge. But thank you, Mr. Cute African. You're very cute and you're very kind. And our last comment is from Mike Shogun Lee. You know, I really want to punch you in your condescending, bodiless voice. That Starved Beast is hard. Again, these are not my rankings. These were the community rankings. I feel like a broken record at this point. But the Starved Beast is easy. Like, yeah, the first time you fight him, if you're really overly aggressive against him and keep getting poison, then yeah, the Starved Beast can be hard. But if you're any good at parrying, or if you can dodge to the left with any kind of moderate level of skill, then the Starved Beast isn't very hard. But if you struggle with it, again, that is the point. Comparing against where the community found these bosses to be, and yes, in my commentary, I give my own opinion, and I found them to be very easy. But that shouldn't make you feel inadequate, bro. I struggle with some easy-ass bosses in this series. Trust me. I've died to fucking Prowling Magus. I did a Blood Level 4 run of this game. I died to the fucking Witches of Hemwick, okay? Twice. Alright? There. You have my shame out in the open. Feel better? On to our last video, which is the top 10 worst bosses in the Souls series. Jack Elliott says that picture you used for the Ancient Wyvern is the Wyvern in the High Wall of Lothric, not the Ancient Wyvern in Archdragon Peak. Yes, at the time, there were no good pictures of the Ancient Wyvern that I could use, and I didn't want to use one with a bunch of the stats on the screen and stuff like that, and I also didn't want to run all the way back through the game at the time to get a picture of the Ancient Wyvern, so I used the picture of another Ancient Wyvern. I think people got the idea. I don't know. These are little nitpicky issues, but you know what? I'll keep that in mind for the future. I'm pretty sure when I re-ranked the Dark Souls 3 bosses, I found a legitimate picture of the Ancient Wyvern, so hopefully that was more satisfactory for you, Jack. I hope you enjoyed it very, very much. Mr. Cranker says, I don't want to be that guy, but I had a good time and first try killing this boss. On my first try. Granted, I watched guides, but it still wasn't horrible, but hey, that's my opinion. He mentions it was on his first try twice, so he's feeling very, very confident about it, and he had a good time, which I'm glad you did. I want you to have a good time playing games. Games at the end of the day are meant for entertainment and fun, and as always, you are absolutely entitled to your opinion. The problem is, I don't know what the fuck your opinion is. Which boss are you talking about? I assume that you're talking about the Bed of Chaos because it's in the thumbnail, so maybe you're the outlier that enjoys the Bed of Chaos, which hey, if you enjoy the Bed of Chaos, by all means. To be honest with you, if I can kill the Bed of Chaos on the first try, I actually don't hate the fight. Because it's whatever. It's just you walk around, you smack its bushes, and then you smack the little bug on the inside. The problem is running back to this fucking thing. That's what I hate the most in the Soul series, tends to be the boss run-ups. That's why I want a boss rush mode so much. Just cut out the fucking rest of the game. I just want to fight your bosses from soft. Make me a boss rush game. Don't rely on modders to do it, because only 3 of the games are on PC, so we need a Bloodborne boss rush. I want a fucking Bloodborne boss rush. But thank you, Mr. Cranker. If you happen to be watching this video, I don't know if any of the people who commented these comments are actually going to be watching this video. I think the chances are probably low at this point. But Mr. Cranker, if you're out there, tell us, which boss were you talking about? We have to know. And we get to end our 30 comment comeback response video with a fine comment from the ever attractive Humsterlicious. Oh my fucking gosh, get to the point already. 2:25 is when the video starts if you don't want to waste your time. I appreciate that, Humsterlicious. Thank you for giving a shortcut for people. This was meant to be the beginning of a 10-part series, in which it was, and I needed to explain the criteria because if I didn't, as you can see from the comments, people get confused, and people still got confused. People were still confused about what my difficulty rating meant. I fucked that up so bad. I remember the difficulty was meant to be, you know what? Actually, I don't even remember what it was supposed to be. I don't remember anymore. I need to go back and watch my own videos. Can someone explain my own difficulty rating to me? Because I remember, at least, that we had to explain it to people a bunch of times. It was something really arbitrary and weird. It was dumb. Instead of rating like the boss's actual difficulty, I think we were rating how I felt the difficulty was, like if I felt it was fair. I think that's what it was, or like whether the difficulty matched the fight, because I think I rated Yorm like 10 out of 10 difficulty. People were like, bruh, what the fuck? The fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, like I said, numbers are arbitrary. This is why we went away from numbers. This is why we stopped it. So thank you, Humsterlicious, for helping people get to the point already, because maybe you were what caused the difficulty confusion. It wasn't me. Thank you, everybody. We can now blame Humsterlicious for that confusion. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's DePodcastry video. I feel as if the Souls comments are a little repetitive. A lot of them are, why wasn't this ranked here? Why wasn't this ranked here? Why wasn't this ranked here? It doesn't generate much discussion because most people don't give reasons for what they're saying other than, I found it to be easy. Okay, why did you find it to be easy? Let's start a dialogue. Most of the time, people don't want to put that much effort into YouTube comments, which is fair. That's fine. It's your time. You're allowed to comment whatever you want on my videos. It's an open dialogue and an open space for you to say whatever you like, so continue to do the same. Down in the comments below, tell me what you think about these comments. Tell me what you think about the comments from my Souls videos in general. Tell me what you think about this video. Tell me about it all. I want to know. I really do. I'll be reading the comments below. And like I said, give me that thumbs up if you want to see a Blutiful tutorial. I really think it's a silly idea, but if you guys really want it, shit, whatever. I'll upload a Blutiful tutorial. Why the hell not? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We will have more videos soon on the way, and I plan to do another DePodcastry to cover all of the videos that I made in the month of October, and we're going to pick comments from those videos. I will see you guys very soon in another video. Love you very much. Have a wonderful day. See you guys later.